Alright, I'm going to show you how to save hours of your time to make your math look incredibly, mathy in the way that you have input boxes within your values here. Your median is between 1.5 times your IQR. Getting an input right there is important as a math teacher. I'm going to show you how to do that, and also how to, submit a form have your students submit these forms right here. So their grades are going to be sent back through their feedback, and it's going to say the number of questions they got wrong, their score, as well as, I'm going to show how to do all of this. And it's going to save you hours of time. The end goal is for you to be able to click, a few buttons, and you're done with, your grading. It's going to be saved in this Google sheet right here, your students' grades and everything like that. So first off, what I'm going to do is you're going to go to File, make a copy of it. It should be just this visible Google sheet here. So you're going to go click File, make a copy, and then click. You go to Tools, and then you go to Script Editor. This is your Google script. This is your index.html file. This is your HTML. This is your Google script. GS stands for Google script. If you look along the scope of this program right here, there's a couple of things that you want to be able to control, and that is the var number of questions. So if you look at line 23 of the scope, the var number of questions is set to be 22. You also have to set your number of questions down here to be the same. This is in case a student writes their email wrong, at which point in time you go to here, you go click on Send Email, and then you click Run. You can change their email and then, send another score back to them. And that's what that send email does. So you need their questions, the number of questions that they asked there on line 23 has to be the same as line 73. It also has to be shown up on, if you click your index.html file at the very bottom, there's a loop. On line 311 here, it's right here. It says number of questions, and if you look at that value right here, this 22 should be the number of questions. You change that. Let's go back to your Google script. I'll show you how to run this thing. You click Run to run it. Make sure you're on your do get function. You click Run first off. And then if you go over here, you click Deploy. New deployment. Who can execute this? Right now it's user accessing the web app, so you can actually run the file and send out emails through you. So if you're ever wanting to sell it, you click that. Otherwise, I typically run it just as myself. Who has access to this file? Anyone with a Google account. You want your students to be able to access this. So I click anyone with Google account can access it. They can't access the Google sheet file when you click that, but you click over here. Anyone with a Google account. You click Deploy. There's the web app right here. You click Copy. This copies this URL, and then you simply come over here and you go to Paste. Click Return, and just like that, you have a beautiful math assessment already made for you. The first time you take it, you fill out your email, you fill out your name. This is you taking it. Everything you type better be right, because what happens is that it says, in this loop part, it says if you have a different answer than your student, then it's going to mark that wrong and it's going to send them feedback that way. So it's kind of nice that you don't have to do any HTML work on what is right and what is wrong. That first row of your data over here will be whatever you submit, and that will be what is the basis for grading your students. So the mode here, what happens the most? I mean, these are pretty cool graphics. The mode here, what happens the most is that there is one dog. The median is known as the value in the middle. You have these select values here. The mean is known as the average. The median of this list, you have this nice little text box over here. The median is the one in the middle, so you can see, you can have your students do that. At which point in time when they're done with it, they just simply click submit. And it says, thank you for submitting your assignment. You click OK. Now the first one, you just took it. So everything should be on here. It should be on the first row. I think that there must have been something that I had a little off with this. Why it's down so much. Must have had it. There must be a, I bet there's a cell over here. Yeah, this timestamp is messing it up. I'll make sure you don't have this issue, but it should be on the first row over here. What it does is it says the next, the file says whatever you typed, it's going to send it to the next row. So like, see how it went down too far? It's kind of cool. So this is you took it. The next row is going to be the student taking it. So I'm going to be a student that's going to take it, and it's going to compare all these values to it. So if the student types here, you know, 2 dogs, it's going to mark that value wrong. All of the other ones are going to be marked right. So let's see that. So let's say the student had 2 dogs, they took the test, same URL. They click submit. It says thank you for submitting your assignment. If you go to your email over here, gosh, I got a lot of emails. Oh, look at this new email. Okay. And it says 2 dogs was incorrect. Mark that wrong, which is pretty cool. It says the number of questions I had incorrect. It also tells me my score. If you want to adjust your score to whatever your school district uses, as far as, you know, your grading procedures, let's say you are a 3.5 scale school district, you can simply, you know, copy and paste this, you know, and change these values here as well as down here. You can change that. What this means, here, I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit. This means right here, if I'm looking at line 42, if if 0 is less than or equal to n, and the 2 symbols here means and n is less than or equal to 3, your score is a 4. So if you got between 0 and 3 questions wrong, your score is going to be a 4. And you can change these values to your liking, which is very cool that it can do this. So let's say your student filled out their email wrong. You had a student, you know, type in .con. The email did not send. It messes up the loop. What do? You have to go click, you know, tools, your script editor, go through here, click your do get function right here, this drop down menu, click send email, and then click run. At which point in time it will send them their email and their score, which is very nice. So it didn't mess up anything, really. If they forget their first name and their email, I have no problem telling a student you always have to turn in your name on a piece of paper. I think that is, I don't know whose that is when it comes in blank like that. Sometimes I can tell, but other times I can't. And there's, you know, 3 blank emails and they're like, I didn't get feedback. Well, you go through here and you click that row and you get rid of it. You right click and then you delete their values here. The basics as to creation of all this stuff here is that there are different options in HTML. All of these are what are known as IDs. Okay, so like right here, this is an ID question 3. I type it in as Q3. for, you know, inputs in HTML, you know, your typical, whatever your input type is your text. Your ID is what changes. So you're going to go Q1, Q2, Q3, depending on whatever question you're on. You can't skip a question. And it's going to be sent through here, through this loop, and it's going to be compared to your code.js, which looks at your first row, and it compares that value, and then it sends it back through your email instantaneously, which is super sweet. But the important thing is that there are these IDs, they go up by 1 every time. I gave you a lot of options for you to kind of look at, which hopefully can kind of help you get started, and gives you a variety of flavors to kind of check out. The one that's different here is this input right here. This is kind of cool right here. If you go and in MathJax you have these $signs you type around your math. If you ever want to research how to type in math, it's LaTeX, spelled like this, LaTeX. No, it is not LaTeX. It's actually technically MathJax here because it's, you know, online, but that'll get you started. If you look right here, this input, it's the ID is this value. It's the value within the square brackets. So that's the ID. This tells you how many spaces there are. So if I wanted to make it like 5 spaces, you know, have the student have more room to type their number in, I just change this to a 5. But I just want that to be 1. Right here, if I wanted there to be something else in the text already inside there, like let's say I wanted there to show up that there was a 7, I would type in there that inside those curly brackets, I would type 7. And that would automatically show up right there. There's never really a time I use it, so I just leave that thing blank. I need this input thing if I ever am typing math around these $signs, these delimiters right here. I do use this input function, which is super sweet. If you ever want a student to actually physically show their work and type something in an equation in a particular location, like right here, I just want to see if they know that that 3 is sent to that 2, and they're typing in 6 instead of 2. Understand the distributive property. That is important right there. That they can do that. If they type space, notice it sends them out of it, so it's not like they're typing something different. I don't really have an issue with them capitalizing. I always tell my students, so like when you're doing this, if you're typing, you know, you're typing 7x with a capital X, and that's different. So it's kind of technical in that sense. If you ever catch something, you can kind of go through and adjust it on your end. But it's different if it's a capital letter, and it's a different character, it's a different thing in HTML, so there's that too. Thinking if I forgot anything. I think that is everything. Yeah, so hopefully you enjoy using this app. Hopefully it makes life easier.